Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic or discussion that we should actually look into, especially when currently in Barbados. We could even see within our neighboring Caribbean countries as well, like Trinidad, having the problem with Venezuelans coming in and the gun trade between the two, what's not, and the problems that has even caused there. So I think it's very mindful, and we need to really be alert when it comes to that as well. And even in terms of just simple culture words, you understand, like for
Hmm.
instance, Trinidad, when it comes just simple culture wars between the black and the Indians, you
Yes.
know, and the impact
Impact
that it
that it
has
has
there as
there.
well. So I think we need to be very mindful of that, because when we look at it, especially currently when it comes to the prostitution and it comes to even the drugs back and forth between our neighboring countries, I think we need to be very, very mindful where that is concerned. Right now, we've been seeing a lot of Colombians and a lot of Venezuelans coming into the country as we speak. Not saying that everybody from Colombia, everybody from Venezuela is into prostitution or some level of illegal activity, but it is very alarming that we're seeing it a huge number when it comes to the prostitution ring within Barbados, whether it's using social media sites or just out on the road themselves, just hustling. I think that we need to pay very close attention to that. And if you can be talking about free movement, especially for those that who are in the industry, they're going to see Barbados is a very profitable place where this is
Wow.
concerned. So,
I mean, and we know, we already know, we're not trying to say Venezuela and Colombia is part of the
yeah,
free movement. He's just saying,
as an example,
as
correct.
an example, that already
Yes.
you have. In fact, I saw something online where prostitutes were fighting.
Yeah.
There was some issue because the black girls from Barbados, Jamaica, Guyana, they were very upset with those that are coming in from Venezuela and Colombia, and it's almost like they're taking their spot.
Yep.
But the thing is, remember, there is supposed to be such organized crime coming out of Colombia, Venezuela. The question is, are they coming in with these ladies as well?
That's the scary
In
thing
fact,
about it.
not are, but is it coming in with these ladies as well?
That's the scary thing about it, because when you look at some of these Caribbean countries, when it comes to human trafficking, I mean, that is what they're mostly plaguing some of those countries as well. So when it comes to organized prostitution and escort work, when we're talking about free movement, we also got to understand that we're also bringing people with different cultures and different trends, and as well, it comes also too with different cultural criminal activity as well. And within some countries, is predominantly prostitution, is predominantly human trafficking, is predominantly drugs, is predominantly. So we also got to be mindful of what's the activities within some of these countries as well, what some of the illegal activities within these countries as well coming into Barbados, and how are we going to be prepared for it? Are we going to look out for it? What are we going to be doing to stop it? Are we going to be proactive, or are we going to be reactive? And really keeping an eye out for some of these things, because I mean, like, seriously, when we look at what's been going on in Trinidad, even before the free movement, when we look at what was going on in Trinidad with the Venezuelans bringing guns into the country, between the back and forth, and now they're trying to put a clamp down and a stamp on it. What impact will that have on us with the free movement? We don't know who other countries is going to sign on, and if we're going to make it very easy um, for people to access our passport, what are we saying for those criminals who wants to travel to certain countries? It's much easier to become a Barbadian citizen, having dual citizenship, so you can carry on certain criminal activity and certain
Yeah,
criminal organizations. So yeah,
yeah. As someone said to me, and they see how they could easily get four passports,
yep,
and be able to carry on criminal activity. Now, Barbados is, I mean, our in terms of human trafficking, we are on the U.S.'s radar right now. In fact, I don't have the article to hand, but it was talking about our record in terms
yeah.
of human trafficking, and here it is. We're flying wider borders open, and based on what we're hearing on the ground, we're having an influx of prostitutes or women, ladies of the night. I don't know what's the correct. Is it that that's the politically correct term to use? I don't know.
Oh, but
Um,
it's scary, and the reason why, although we know that prostitution is illegal in Barbados, it's very relaxed, it's not enforced. You could take a walk through the city. You could go and walk by Savvy on the Bay. You could take a walk through Nelson Street, Bush or whatever it is, and you could see the activity in blatant. They're not hiding. They're very front about it. I understand that we don't enforce certain laws. If we have certain laws in place, but we don't enforce certain laws. But it's very easy that if you wanted to traffic someone here for sexual pleasure, it would be pretty easy because no one is paying attention to it. No one is really paying attention to it. And then you seen 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 people living in a household, and you just think that they just say to cover the rent, but most of the times is they're there due to obligation, whether it's to the pimp or the person that is in control of that particular sex ring. So we really got to pay attention to it because the numbers are growing. When you really look at it, the numbers are growing. And I think that if you're not careful, especially with the free movement, it will also be easier for people to expand their criminal organization.
Wow, so they could come here and expand it, especially
Yeah,
because
it's much
the
easier.
dollar
Mhm.
and the dollar is so strong. So then they
Yep.
come. I want you to expand on that.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you. Barbados downgraded to US Tier 2 watch list on human trafficking. And
Yeah.
human trafficking a lot of times is linked to prostitution.
Exactly.
And so what are we doing here? What's happening here, government? But continue what you
Yeah.
just said
When you
something
look,
about
when you
expanding your
expanding, yeah, because
yeah.
when you look at it, we have not only just the strongest, not only just the strongest passport, but also one of the strongest dollars in the Caribbean. So when it comes to what will help your organization to grow in terms of economics, is Barbados. So expanding becomes much easier when you can just tell them go and spend 6 months in Barbados, and I can grant you a Barbados citizenship, and then they can left Barbados and then go to St. Vincent and get you citizenship. What is it's easy for you to expand. It's easy for you then to expand your organization because when we look at some of these clubs that they have current right now, which are supposed to be bars and lounges and stuff along those kind of lines, it's easy for you to sell your business. And as I say, once again, no one is really paying attention to it. No one is really checking and looking and saying, well, let me try to crack dump on this side. I think it's very, I mean, it's sometimes even scary when you look at it because one, if you go and you just take a walk through the city at night, to the
Mhm.
city at night. I don't want to point out any country and say, well, there's only one particular country, but the reality of it is that some of these clubs are heavily invested in certain countries, whether it's Venezuela, Colombia, Jamaica, and it just can't be a coincidence. It has to be a reason why. And normally they comes in every 3 months and they're shipped out
But
and they
listen
come
to
back
the
in.
countries. I want people to listen to the countries.
Yep.
You have listen to the countries. Colombia, research
Yep.
Colombia. In fact, I know the U.S. president is focusing on Venezuela, but the heart of the drug traffic and organized crime is Colombia. And if you're having an increase in prostitutes from Colombia and Venezuela, and then Jamaica, which has a high crime rate, although it's decreasing at the moment, um, the question is, what are they really? What are we really doing here? What's happening? But continue, please.
Right. And then they say it's a growing trend where that is concerned. And then even in terms of Barbados, when it comes to like life in Barbados, the only clubs that actually get to go past the hours of 2 and 3 are most of these straight clubs and gentlemen's clubs that somebody will call it. And we really got to start paying attention. They comes in every 3 months, they move out, or come in every 6 months, and they're on rotation, you know. And I guess that is so they can continue to maneuver without any reason any flags are overstaying. But no, when we make it to a point where you can say we'll come in and spend 6 months and we grant you citizenship, that is when we really got to start paying attention to some of these growing trends when it comes to criminal activity within Barbados.
Yeah, interesting. Dave, there is we're gonna play this song, but we started in a segment, and I don't want to break it because we're going somewhere with this, guys. I think we're taking on something that we're not going to be able to manage. When you just have to think about how small Barbados is, and are we going to be able to manage an influx of people that are going to come in? It's not going to be tomorrow or the next day, but it's over a period of time. And when we look, it's changed. The place has changed.
And it's and one of the scary things about it, Marcia, which it hurts me to admit this, but Barbados is going through an identity crisis. Barbados culture is not that strong. Barbados cannot deal with these multiple countries coming into Barbados and expect for it to still remain Barbados. The culture is not strong. We're going through an identity crisis. We do not even know what Barbados or who Barbados is right now. You know
Why do you say we're going through an identity crisis? Break that down for
what?
us.
All right. Before, I guess, before we can look and say we understand what Barbados stood for, Barbados had a code of conduct. Barbados was a people, a strong people, a community, and Barbados had its own culture. When you look, you can say for sure that was a Bajan. I think we've adopted so many different cultures throughout the years, and it started to fade away. We don't have the same community spirit as we once had before. We don't have the right now. We just say what is rum run, sun, and sea. I think Barbados will see me way more than that. And right now, I just don't think that Barbados has that same community spirit, that same friendly atmosphere we once had like before. And with other countries as well, even in terms of our music, when we look at our music and we look at our the way how we dance and stuff like that, we are adopting everybody else's culture but our own. Everybody else's culture we adopt but our own. We do not necessarily highlight it or promote it. What is Barbados? What do Barbados stand for? I don't think we know who we are anymore.
Yes.
And if you look at countries like Jamaica, Jamaica stands its own. Everybody know Jamaican. When you go somewhere, you see Jamaica, you know what's Jamaica's culture.
Yeah.
When you go to certain countries, Trinidad, you know what's Trinidad's culture. When it comes to Barbados, sometimes you scratch your head because we don't know who we are. You
I
know
would like to know if the people in the comment section agree with with what Zico is saying. Yes, we are. You're right. It's a lot of Jamaicans women are here, and they are doing that kind of dancing, and they're selling services. You are correct, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But look, if you well, let me hear you. Do you think we have an identity crisis in Barbados at this time, especially when we look at the at we don't recognize Barbados anymore. We see the crime and so on. And I do have that video that we're going to look at. But I want to hear. Let's talk about just the culture, and we're going to come back to crime. Somebody says Zico. Here's already said yes. Zico, you're correct. Um, Yes, we don't. What can we're not even pushing? We're pushing sex tourism. Somebody says. I agree with Zico. Yes, that we have a identity crisis. I definitely agree with you on that. I think right now we're trying to find ourselves of who we really are. We're seeing our culture being ripped from us, and we are trying to figure out who we are. Now I had shared I shared something with you guys here on this show, and I shared this probably it could be about 4 weeks ago, that I went into town. Dave, you can put it back. You are correct. Thank you, Dave. We were going. I was in town, and I saw this man selling soup. Remember, I shared that he was selling soup, pushing soup, hot sun, hot sun. You understand? And so this would have been in late August, September, hot. And I'm thinking, and he said, soup, soup. I said, but that sounds like a Jamaican. But I said, I bet you it is. Because it is the culture of Jamaicans to eat soup at any or drink
anything. Hmm.
at any time of the day, and we sell it as a street food. I have been in Barbados 26 years. I have never seen soup sold as a street food. Okay? I want to show you something, guys. Those of you from Jamaica, I'm not trying to stop you from eating a food and from hustling, okay? Don't get me wrong, because I thought it was cute and I was going to buy it from this man. So don't email me and don't write me and tell me I'm against my country. I am not. I believe it's good entrepreneurship and I am not against it. But I want to show, I still have to be fair to my Barbadian people to show them something here, Zico. And I told you about this man. This is the same man that someone took in Barbados today. Okay? So Dave, go ahead and let me see. Is it a video? Yes, play what you have there, please. If you can. Okay, he's coming up. Now, The reason that I want to show them this, Zico, is that there are some cultures. All right, he's ready.
My name is Everal Gard, and I'm from Jamaica. Yeah, I grew up in Kingston, which is the West Kingston area. I've been cooking for quite a few years now. Since I come to Barbados, it's been great. Yeah, I'm only here for a year now, but being in Barbados, you know, Barbados is a very fast-growing country, so you got to, as a foreigner, you got to bring something to the table. I used to work in other restaurants, and financially it wasn't hard enough for me. So I was frustrated. I decided to go back home, and something come to me while I was praying. I had a supermarket trolley, and when I bought the trolley, I bought a biscuit. I didn't have enough money to start the first day, but I buy what I could have buy. And I remember what my granny used to tell me, use your hand on fashion. And I use my hand on fashion, and I come out with a cowheel suit the first day, walking in the hot sun, Kensington Stadium, Pelican. Yeah, basically I go all about, and the soup sell out the day, and I give God thanks. But I do different soups every day, and it didn't look promising at first. I was thinking to go back to work because, you know, I have to pay my rent every week. So I was thinking to go back to work. And then a nice kind lady by the hospital blessed me with $100. So I pay my rent that week and I feel good. The next week I'm going to come out and I come across the hospital here and reach emergency. The soup done in a half an hour time. So that encouraged me more that week. That week I met more than when we used to work for in a restaurant or on the construction site. So I decided to continue. The security by the hospital, the nurses, the doctors, the patients, and the patients them all give me a nice welcome. They support me a lot. Yeah, they compliment my soup every day. Yeah, so that I can feel good. Not just that I can feel good because what are they are tasting, because I like to cook and I cook with a lot of love.
Yeah. Now, let me say that I am not against this guy, as I said, doing his hustle, and I see Mr. Bob is there. We're going to bring him in very soon. The thing is, though, is that what is going to develop is, and it's a small change, and it's not a bad change. I'm just showing you an example that there are some cultures that is very, very, very hard for them to assimilate. And I'm from one of those cultures, right? I'm from Jamaica. Jamaica's culture is very infectious, and it has a way of just taking over. And that's a good thing there, because soup is good for the body, and it's a cheap way that people can get some lunch for the day. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just using that to say that just like you see that, I am telling you, Jamaicans will come in here and change
You're
your
correct.
national dish, just
You're
like that.
correct.
But go
And,
right ahead,
and,
Zico.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, for instance, I do not think we know, like, all right, our national dish is flying fish and cuckoo. And it's sad to say the majority of Barbados does not eat flying fish and cuckoo. They don't see it as they try to eat some fries and hallow, you know, some pie, some fish and chips. But we don't really celebrate Barbados. I think Barbados have a strong culture. I don't think Barbados know what makes Barbados unique. Even when it comes down to putting Barbados on the map, I don't think anybody's out there really waving the flag. Yeah, we say Rihanna, you know, we're thankful for what Rihanna have done for Barbados and what's not. But in terms of being a cultural ambassador, I don't even think people know what that is. I don't think people have been out there really showing people what is Barbados, what makes Barbados unique. and bringing other people into the country. Like I in for integration. Don't get me wrong. Like, I in for the whole being one. But I just don't think Barbados is ready for that. I don't think Barbados is ready for that step. I don't think Barbados know who they are. See, I don't think Barbados is ready for the integration of multiple different cultures coming into Barbados and still remain in Barbados. I mean, like when you look at Jamaica, and I have to use Jamaica as an example. I don't care where Jamaicans go in the world, that's a Jamaican.
Correct.
And I think sometimes Bajans just travel for 2 weeks and then he's a Bajan, some so the accent changes. I don't think they know who they are, and that's the sad thing about it. I mean, when we look at our music, whether it's soca, calypso, I don't care what it is. Show me Barbados. It's hard to find. We tend to adapt to all different kind of cultures. And when we look at even them coming into Barbados, the reality of it is most of them can come into Barbados to be entrepreneurs. That's the reality of it. Most of them gonna come in and they're gonna sell them cultural food and what's not. It's gonna be different to Bajans, and Bajans is gonna want to try it. And the reality of it is that they're not gonna pay NAS. It's just gonna send it back home. They're not looking to spend the rest of their life in Barbados. They're just gonna get some money, send it back home because the dollar is strong. Probably build a house or a business back home. So the reality of it is mostly going to come in, but they're not going to contribute to NAS. It's going to put pressure on our systems, whether it's the hospital, whether it's our traffic system, don't care what it is, and it's not going to work out the way that I think our government is looking at it working out. I think we need to do a lot of work on us first. And I just wish that she would spend more time being a prime minister here home first, beating our drums first, before she tends to try to save the world.